Hey everybody, welcome to Signature Song, a podcast where two friends get together to discuss an artist, trawl their discography, and try to determine their signature song. My name is Lane.
My name is Jorge.
And today we are talking about a mutually beloved artist. She is probably my favorite artist of all time, and I know, Jorge, you really appreciate her music as well. We are going to be talking about Kate Bush today.
Which is great. I'm excited to talk about Kate Bush. And it's also the first time in a few episodes where we're talking about an artist that we both really like.
I think the last time was Late Mitski, right?
Yeah, Mitski was probably the last one. I mean, well, was Mitski Leonard Cohen then?
Oh, yeah.
We did Leonard Cohen, and then, we've talked about artists that we have, each one of us, a certain amount of interest in and a history with. But it's been a while since we talked about one where we both have a long history and a strong fandom of, such as the case of Kate Bush.
I mean, Kate Bush has been in our lives musically for nearly as long as our friendship, I feel.
Yeah. I think the first time we talked, we were both each already individually in our Kate Bush journey. Though probably by that point in different stages of it, right? Like I already knew her, but I was sort of starting to get to know her. And I think maybe at 16 or so, I started to really dive into her discography. My first impression of Kate Bush was sort of almost as an outsider artist sort of thing. You know, I thought this kooky lady with this crazy voice and these weird dance moves and these spooky songs, like surely this must be kind of a niche, kind of a very obscure artist that only a very few people know. And I was surprised to learn that she's like this hugely famous, successful, influential pop star.
Yeah, but I don't think she was on like millennials' radar when we were in high school. Like I felt kind of similarly. Like I uncovered her music when I was 15 and became immediately obsessed with it. It was just completely unlike anything that I had ever heard in my entire life. And I remember evangelizing her to all of my friends in high school, and they were all like completely put off by her voice and by the, weirdness of the arrangements and everything. And like, I just remember thinking that like I had discovered like this treasure that nobody else could, access or see.
Yeah. So you're right about millennials and their relationship with Kate Bush and the fact that maybe we didn't grow up with her, so to speak, as a generation. But I think there's a certain type of millennial, and I'm including us both in that, who got into music really hardcore in our high school years and always like pushed one level deeper into music beyond just the bands that we liked, like the rock, punk, emo, etc., that we liked, and started looking back through music history and identifying all these artists who were maybe, I don't know, just one level more obscure than most of the stuff you could find. And I don't know if you will agree with this, but I will put Kate Bush, I'll compare her in my own personal history with Tom Waits, because this is another artist that, people in my generation didn't really grow up listening to, who has this really bizarre stage presence and voice and performance style. And some of his songs sound like circus music. Some Kate Bush songs sound like circus music. Tom Waits didn't get to that level of success like pop star success that Kate Bush did. Kate Bush was a massive artist in the late 70s and 80s. But just in the role that they served in my own personal musical upbringing, I sort of put them both together. And also in the fact that I would recommend them to people and get a lot of puzzled looks. Like, you actually listen to this? You think this is good? Yeah, man, just wait. Time will vindicate me. People will think Kate Bush is awesome in 2025. And eventually that's exactly what happened.
I wonder though if it's maybe like a location thing, right? Because like obviously she was really big in the UK and in, parts of Europe like Ireland, France, Italy, and she was also like kind of big in Australia, but she never really had like a breakthrough in the US until, I think Stranger Things. I mean, she had like little blips on the radar at certain points, but like my dad is a big music fan, right? And he goes beyond like the superficial like stuff that's on the radio. He's a pretty deep listener. He really likes albums, he's into experimental stuff. He loves prog, so I think it would have been like a natural extension of his tastes in music for him to be into Kate Bush. He was really into Peter Gabriel, and he told me when I introduced him to her when we were in high school, uh, that he had never heard of her, that he was like, I somehow completely missed her. And
Interesting.
he really loved her. Like when I turned him on to her though, like he thought it was so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that she got her breakthrough, man. Like, that's really cool. We're Last time we spoke, our last episode was about Metallica. Metallica was never not popular after they broke
Mhm.
through. No, Metallica has been this incredible force in music, and has had tremendous name recognition for decades. Um, and when Stranger Things featured their song Master of Puppets, it did give them a second wind, and they got a little bit of a resurgence commercially. However, they had never really gone away. Meanwhile, Kate Bush is all but retired. I think she is effectively retired from music. When Stranger Things featured Running Up That Hill, not only was it similar to what Metallica got, but it was also, in a way, her commercial breakthrough in the States. A lot of people who had never heard of her before suddenly, caught on to her, and she had this massive hit many, many years after the song originally was released. So it's an interesting way that the media can shape the way we think of artists and their careers, right? And how a well-placed feature will sometimes completely redefine an artist's relationship with an entire generation.
And really the internet. I mean, Stranger Things is a streaming show. Like it's
Yeah,
not a cable
correct.
TV show.
It's not a
It's on
movie.
Netflix. So many of the songs that we're going to talk about also got memed on like TikTok, right? Or in Reels, which I think is
That's
really
right.
interesting too. Which is something that we saw for like a couple of the artists that we've talked about, like Mitski, for example, having had like some of their most popular or successful songs be as a result of being, omnipresent on the internet.
Correct.
And but I think, Kate Bush's cultural resurgence and greater awareness even in the US kind of started back a little bit further than this moment with Stranger Things. I think it really started with the frenzy that happened around the Before the Dawn concerts. Um
Right.
I think a lot of people were like, wait, who is this person getting so much attention that like people from countries all over the world are going to be flying to, London to see this woman who will not travel outside the UK to perform shows. She is performing residencies because she has a, very known avowed fear of flying, right?
Yeah.
And that was nearly 10 years before the Stranger Things episode came out.
It should be noted that you attended one of those concerts, right?
Yeah, so I saw two shows from that residency. One ticket that I had purchased prior to going to London that I had obviously I had the intention of going to, and then the other, I actually queued up with another very close friend of mine. We waited in line for, 6 or 7 hours, and actually got seats in the fifth row, dead center.
Damn.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I wept openly the whole time,
Yeah.
and it was completely life changing. I
You
really
were
wish.
you were already a huge Kate Bush fan, so this must have been like the ultimate experience.
Oh my God, it was like a religious pilgrimage.
Yeah. And the original plan, from what I understand, was for this to be released as some sort of film, but then for whatever reason, it fell through.
Yeah, one of the shows that I went to, actually, they had so I was further back. I was up in kind of a higher part of so it was at the Hammersmith Odeon, or it used to be known as the Apollo. Um and I was towards the back, and I could see cameras both doing like automated flash photography in addition to filming.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like recording equipment around for audio stuff as well. And so I definitely, there's definitely footage that exists of the concert. I don't think we'll ever see it, and I think that's really unfortunate, because she also didn't permit photography
Mm,
um during the concert, whether it was your cell phone or professional photography. There were like maybe two or three promotional photos that came out um, of her on stage. And there's really not that much else other than the concert program, which I still have mine,
nice.
which is a book. And it shows kind of like pictures of like the puppets and like the stage and some of like the things that they did in the different sets, because it was really like, I mean, it was a lot more like a play or a circus,
Right.
right, than just a concert.
Yeah.
I really wish, though, she would just release like the film for this,
Yeah.
because like I think that her fans would really love, really, really, really love seeing what she pulled off.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll happen someday. In the meantime, you and I are here to discuss her career and to figure out her signature song. So, what do you say we get started?
Let's do it.
Our first contender for Kate Bush's signature song is her debut single, Wuthering Heights, written and produced by Kate Bush herself and released in 1978 as the lead single from her debut album, The Kick Inside. This song was a massive hit. It reached number one in the UK, where it stayed for 4 weeks, and it also went number one in several other countries. It sold roughly 1 million copies worldwide in its first year. Reportedly, she wrote this song in a single evening when she was only 18 years old, as she was inspired by the 1967 BBC adaptation of the novel Wuthering Heights. The song is written from the perspective of the character Catherine, of her ghost begging to be let in his window, and it made history as the first UK number one by a female artist with a completely self-written song. This is the song that I first heard that introduced me to the world of Kate Bush. It still feels unlike anything else. It's very bizarre. It has a bunch of strange harmonic turns, irregular phrasing, and that unforgettable vocal. Lane, is this also the first Kate Bush song you ever heard?
No, the first Kate Bush song I ever heard was actually Running Up That Hill.
Ah, got it. Yeah. Well, I think Wuthering Heights is a great introduction to the world of Kate Bush because it's catchy, it's poppy to some extent, but it's also really spooky and bizarre. There's a lot going on in this song. How do you feel about it?
It's an interesting song, so it's got two versions, which I think, is important to talk about, because there's definitely like different production values, as well as notably one Kate Bush's voice is, you know, one, she's a teenager in the first initial recording of the song, right?
Yes, the
And
hit version.
right, in the hit version, and her voice is, like, kinda thinner and a little more shrill, and I think that Wuthering Heights, when it was originally a hit in the UK, had the kind of air of, like a novelty sort of song, right? I mean, it was interesting because, like you said, it was the first
Yes.
self-penned hit by a woman in the United Kingdom, but, like, I mean, it's about a book, first of all, and it's kind of strange. The music video was also kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
Um, she sings weirdly, and, when I encountered British people, in the UK, when I was, visiting for the concert, so when I was at customs, I had to declare why I was in the country, before I could get my visa stamp. And, I was like, "Well, I'm going to the Kate Bush residency," right? And
Hmm.
the guy at customs scoffed and rolled his eyes, and he was like, "Oh," he was like, "That Wuthering Heights song is so annoying."
Damn.
And I was like, "Is that the is that the only song you know by her?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's all I wanna know."
But I understand. Like, I see why somebody would find that song, and particularly that recording of it, annoying. It's very shrill. There's some notes that she hits that are pretty harsh. Uh, I get it. I get the normie reaction, and you know what? It may have been. I don't remember, but it may have been my reaction, my initial reaction too. I think there's something about it that may be repellent at first, but then it sort of burrows into your consciousness and you just want to keep listening to it. I think this is a function of it's, like we said, the vocal take, that first younger vocal, but also the unusual chord progression. It's really odd. It goes from A major
Mhm,
to F major to E major to C sharp major. It's
mhm.
not, it's unlike anything else. Like, very few songs have a progression like that. And it adds to the song's sort of spooky, ethereal quality. And not only that, but then the chorus is in another key, and it's in a weird time signature. It's got alternating bars of 5/4 and 7/4. In fact, there's some controversy over how to count the time in the chorus. That's how it works for me. But so there's enough here that I understand why it would feel like a novelty song, like you said, or like I said earlier, almost like an outsider artist kind of thing. But it's too
Mhm.
well composed. It's too well put together. It's too clever to be an outsider song. It's got so much happening, and it's got such a big emotional punch to it. So I fully get your customs agent's reaction. I would give him a little more time with the song, and eventually maybe he'll become an Uber fan.
Well, and I think people need to hear the re-recording, which came
Yes,
out in 1986, and I prefer the re-recording to the original, and I know that this is, like, anathema to many Kate Bush fans. I know that you and I agree on this,
yes.
but I love the strength of the belting that she does in the re-recording, particularly at the end, where she's doing this, like, melismatic, like, all over the place, like, and, at the end,
That sounds
there's a
just
guitar
like
so
her.
I
That
know, I
sounds
know.
just like her. Well done.
Thank
Ah!
you, thank you, and this guitar solo by David Gilmour, who she was a protege of, like, I mean, he discovered her when she was, like, 13, and he was like, "Hey, wait a minute, the music industry will eat this little girl alive, let's wait until she's an adult before we actually release any music by her." Good forethought, David Gilmour, and the guitar solo is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The production is I would say the production is definitely very 80s, but I think that the production of the original is very 70s,
Yes, it
you
is.
know. Um, but I think there's this like lush, Baroque feel that I think that if Kate Bush had the budget and the, musical experience and just the, depth of being an adult with a deeper singing voice and, years of smoking cigarettes behind her, right?
Yeah.
I think Wuthering Heights would have sounded like the new vocal version,
Yeah, yeah.
if in the original, if she had all those things available to her.
Correct. I agree completely. I also draw a parallel here between Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights and The Cure's Boys Don't Cry, another late 70s single that was re released in 1986, hot off the heels of a hit album, a hit album where they both kind of consolidated their sound. So The Cure consolidated their sound with The Head on the Door. Kate Bush sort of consolidated her sound with Hounds of Love. And then they re-released their first single with a new vocal track. Interesting that it happened twice. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to point out, just on a personal level, that you know my karaoke days are behind me. I feel I don't think karaoke is for me anymore. I'm okay not doing karaoke anymore. But back when I was a karaoke enthusiast, Wuthering Heights is my go-to. That this was the song because it was very fun to do an impression of Kate Bush. And I don't know, with the right amount of drinks, I might do it again if you get me drunk enough. Um, so why could this potentially be her signature song? I think there's a case for it being that first impression sometimes is the most lasting impression, to the world, to the culture. This song has also appeared at a bunch of movies and TV shows, Being Human, Shameless, Happy Valley. It's been covered by a bunch of different artists, everybody from Pat Benatar to the Brazilian power metal band Angra. And I want to point out one more thing. There is a flash mob event called the Most Wuthering Heights Day Ever that was created in 2016 and has been held annually since, where fans gather in locations around the world to recreate the music video to Wuthering Heights with the red dress. So if there's fans all over the world getting together to recreate one of your music videos, chances are that's a pretty well-known song. I mean, it means a lot to the fandom and to culture. I think, there is a case for Wuthering Heights being her signature song. Now let's see how we feel about our second contender.
Tears are a tin box, Jesus Christ. All right, next up we have from Kate's third album, Never Forever, released in 1980, Army Dreamers, which was written and produced by Kate herself. She also had some help with the production from John Kelly. This song peaked at number 16 on the UK singles chart and went silver, which means it sold over 200,000 units. This song also had a revival on TikTok, which was kind of interesting, that led to a 1,300% increase in streams. That is insane to me. That is
1,300%.
yeah,
Wow.
like 13 times the amount of streaming
Wow.
of this song. But this was already like one of her more well-known songs and singles and highly regarded ones. This is a very so Kate Bush has always been like imaginative, I think, when it came to, the types of narratives that she creates for the people who are in her songs. Like she never, I mean, I shouldn't say never. Like she does write autobiographical songs, right?
Yeah.
But her songs are also often laden with metaphors and these fictional worlds that she creates. And this one is about the horrors of war, right? And in particular, this is about a mother who is grieving the death of her son who dies during a military action. I don't know. Like, I think this is a like Wuthering Heights. I think this is a very strange choice for a
Yes.
single.
Yeah. You wouldn't think that this would have been a significant hit of any kind. It's just a little too weird. And that's saying something for Kate Bush. But there's this kind of glockenspiely, almost medieval sound to this song, right? That maybe like the novelty of it might have pushed it through.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got like that very old school, like folkish sort of like sound to it. And, her vocal syncopation is also like a little strange, right? Like she's almost got like this affectation going on. Like she's putting on an accent of this older mother who, like she's inhabiting this character.
Yeah.
Um I'm perplexed. Maybe you can help me understand this because I don't use TikTok. Uh, I am not as chronically online as I used to be, except for, I scroll Instagram. So why was this on TikTok? Do you know?
That's a good question. I think I may have aged out of that, of being able to answer that. I know that this was a TikTok song or that became famous or became popular on TikTok, but I've never actually seen a TikTok of this. I don't know whether it's accompanied by a certain skit or by a certain dance or what. I'm a little perplexed by it too. But whatever the case, it did happen. People latched onto it, and I sort of get it. It's unique enough that it will catch the attention or the imagination of somebody who had never listened to it before or had never heard anything like it before. So even though I don't know the specifics of how it happened or what the context of the TikToks is, um, I do kind of get it. I do sort of understand how this would speak to somebody completely removed from any historical or musical context. And I think it helps our potential case for Army Dreamers as her signature song because even though it was already a popular single when she released it, it wasn't the most popular single, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't really a mega hit the way that Wuthering Heights was or the way that Running Up That Hill became later on. So that extra boost of attention helps our argument for it. The song itself, I feel it's one of the most pure Kate Bush tracks in her catalog because it sort of distills her whole artistic identity into this one strange little pop song. It takes something really big and grim, like the senselessness of losing life during wartime, and it filters it through her storytelling style that is surreal, that is a little theatrical, that is emotionally precise. And like Wuthering Heights, and like you said, it's not a diary entry, it's a character piece, right? It's sung from the perspective of someone else, and she fully inhabits the voice and the identity of this character and turns it into a little miniature world. And that feels very Kate Bush to me. That feels like something you would point to as being one of her quirks. It also, speaking of her quirks, it sounds catchy and playful, but it's really sad and heartbreaking. And that contrast makes her writing very distinctive and timeless. So Army Dreamers, I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel trapped in one precise era. I don't know the war she wrote it about, or a specific conflict, but it stays relevant because its message continues to be relevant today. It is universal and it's immediately recognizable the way, a Kate Bush signature song would be.
I think too, it's interesting that you bring up like her world building within the song. I think that Kate has always used visual and like kinesthetic sorts of approaches to complementing her music to create something that is like, you know, really this like holistic sort of like complete self-contained world in the context of a song through like either live performance or music video, or sometimes both, right? And Army Dreamers has a very iconic music video. Like
Yes,
she is dressed up as a soldier, i- in like, you know, battle fatigues and a helmet, but like, she's still got her like eye makeup accentuating and like her big old eyes,
yeah,
and like just looking very like, I don't know, kind of both innocent and like out of place
correct.
uh in the war zone. And this song also, like, I mean, it was kind of a threat to the status quo in the UK. Like, it was
Uh-huh.
banned. Like, they didn't play it on the radio during the Gulf War. The BBC didn't want to play it because they didn't want to play anything that could potentially like portray the army in a negative light. And so like that in and of itself is like pretty cool. Like that makes it a little bit bigger than, you know, I mean, just an anti-war song. Like it was
Correct.
a threat to the establishment.
That's interesting. I didn't know that it had been banned. I didn't know that about it. And you're right. That speaks to the song's broader uh, place and culture. Beyond just the music aspect of it. Well, we can move on now to our third contender for Kate Bush's signature song.
Let's go.
Next up is Babushka, also from Never Forever and released as a single, and it became one of Kate Bush's biggest hits. This song spent 10 weeks on the UK chart and peaked at number 5, and it did even better internationally. It reached number 2 in Australia, where it stayed for 3 weeks and ended up one of the year's best-selling singles, and also hit number 2 in France and other countries. This song is a punchy, dramatic, very theatrical track with a very distinctly early 80s edge. It's a very classic story, and it's very Kate Bush, where a wife, paranoid about how her husband sees her after all these years together, sends him love letters under the name Babushka, testing his loyalty by posing as someone younger. And then she watches the whole thing backfire. She even pointed to an old folk song style narrative as inspiration, the idea of a woman disguising herself to test devotion. And this makes Babushka feel like both a pop single and a twisted little fable. How do you feel about this song, Lane?
I think it's quite fun. I definitely think, the paranoia is like a most manic in the song, like in her vocal delivery. I really like the instrumentation. It's one of her earliest uses of the Fairlight CMI, which is something that she would use to a great deal on both 1982's The Dreaming and 1985's Hounds of Love. And I think that it's I think it's a really like clever, fascinating little microcosm of a story.
Yes.
We've got like irony and intrigue and deceit and like all this stuff going on in it. And like it's like campy fun, like especially if you've seen the video and you've seen her costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's really ridiculous. And
Both
it
costumes are great. The costumes with which she sings the verses, where she's
mhm.
standing next to a big double bass, and then that crazy sort of Amazon warrior woman costume with which she sings the chorus.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Cool. Yeah, the music video is a lot of fun, and it's so hard to talk about Kate Bush songs without talking about her visual presentation, because so much of her work has to do with that, whether it be the dance, performance aspect, or the costuming aspect, or just her theatricality in general. Her presentation style for songs and for herself has always been a big part of her whole appeal.
Yeah, like even like from her very earliest performances and like promotional videos and things like that. Like I'm thinking about like James and the Cold Gun, which is from The Kick Inside. Like she's in this like I don't know how to describe the costume. It's kind of like a ranger outfit, but she's got like a rifle,
Yeah.
and she's like cocking it while she's singing and stuff. And like I mean, just this like she commits to the bit like no other. I mean, like
Yeah.
but like in Babushka too, and this is something that I discovered very early on in my interest in Kate's music, is that Babushka is kind of like a little bit of a meme in like Kate fandom.
Oh yeah. Tell me.
Um
Tell me about that.
yeah, just like the whole get up and the like oh yeah
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just like the way she sings and
It's
everything,
so
like it's just
dramatic.
yeah.
So over the top. I like that there's the chorus, the lyrics are just babushka babushka yeah yeah,
Yeah.
I
Wait,
think
why
that's
is it
really funny.
okay when Kate Bush does it, but not when like Taylor Swift does Cruel Summer?
Oh, okay.
And whoa.
That's a good question. Maybe we should think about that. Um, I think this song is a blast. I really like the glass shattering sample
hmm
that you hear throughout. It just amplifies that salacious drama aspect of it. I also think it's really interesting that this song came out just 1 year after a song with a very similar theme. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um
I'm talking
uh,
about Rupert Holmes' Escape, the Pina Colada song,
I was gonna
which
say that, but
which came out in 1979 and also features a guy who becomes involved in correspondence with somebody who turns out to be his wife. And that fuels my suspicion, my totally not serious, but I'll still say it anyway, suspicion that these songs are about each other. Like, could that these songs together form a complete story? No, I'm kidding. Obviously, they don't, because the whole point of Pina Colada song is like, oh my god, that's so funny that it was you that I was cheating with emotionally. Let's get together. Whereas I don't know, we don't really hear what happens to Babushka, but from the glass shattering and the tom rolls near the end, we kind of get the impression that it's not something good. But yeah, Babushka, very popular song too. People think of Kate Bush, and a lot of them think of Babushka. It's a song that stuck around. It's a song that also had a TikTok revival. So many of these songs have little TikTok popularity spikes.
she's so memeable. Like I just like I think that Gen Z finds her hilarious. you know?
I find her hilarious. I find her hilarious too. She's great. I love Kate Bush. All right. I think we can move on to our fourth contender.
All right, next up, we're going to talk about the lead single from 1985's Hounds of Love. Once again, written and produced by Kate herself. It is Running Up That Hill, A Deal with God, which is the full title. I'll probably shorten it to Running Up That Hill the whole time. I hope you don't mind.
You can call it Ruth.
People do. I mean, when they put it online, when they like write reviews online, they type
Yeah,
Ruth.
I know. But maybe we could just say it out loud. Ruth. Call her Ruth. All right, never mind. I'm sorry. Keep going.
So this song was actually like fairly big in the UK when it first came out, and actually in the US comparably, when you look at her previous singles. It reached number 3 in the UK singles chart, and this was her biggest hit since all the way back from her debut album. And it reached number 30 in the US Billboard Hot 100. But as many of you, if you've been paying attention to what we've been talking about this whole time, may be aware, the song had a bit of a comeback in 2022 after it was used in an episode of the Netflix television program Stranger Things. And it hit number 1 in the UK, which was her second number 1 in the United Kingdom in her entire career. It also made it number 3 in the US Billboard Hot 100. I remember hearing people driving around my neighborhood blasting it on the radio when it came out as a single again. It
Wow.
was so hilarious. I was like literally at the laundromat and I would hear it on the radio. It also made it to number 1 in over 8 countries. Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, a bunch of places. And also on the global Billboard Top 200, it was number 1. So it had a really, really big comeback. It took over Spotify streaming, right? I mean, I'm sure this was also right on TikTok. It had to have been. The song is an intense number that deals with the relationship between a man and a woman who are longing for emotional intimacy with one another, and it talks about trading places with one another in order to better understand each other. Her record label at the time, EMI, did not like the title A Deal with God, which was the original title, because they were worried, especially in the United States, that there would be backlash regarding the religious undertones of a title like that. So they made a compromise and made that the secondary title and had the primary title be changed to Running Up That Hill.
Right.
Um,
And do you think this was a change for the better? Would you prefer the title be A Deal with God?
I don't really care either way. I
Yeah.
mean, I think like I think A Deal with God, does capture more of what it's about. Like, I mean, it really is like petitioning God to make you trade places with somebody that you love just so you can get inside their mind
Yeah.
a little bit. I think Running Up That Hill is like kind of ambiguous. It's like, well, is this like Sisyphus? Are we exercising? Like,
Yeah, thematically, A Deal with God is a better title, but I like Running Up That Hill as a title because she just says it a bunch. I'm a fan of songs with titles that just repeat the title over and over again.
But she also says a deal with God, like the exact same amount of times.
Running Up That Hill feels more, I don't know, like she pushes it more. You hear it more clearly. I don't not actually know what I'm talking about, but it seems fitting to me. I also really like that bum 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 bum, bum like the song has a gallop to it, and it feels like
Yeah,
you feels like you're running up a hill. You know, kind of.
that drum is like a heartbeat. Like
Yeah,
it's incredible. Like it's both like an analog drum and a drum machine, if I remember correctly.
yeah. It's an interesting sound. I don't think I've know many songs that have a sound like this.
Yeah, like it's just enormous. Like I remember the first time I heard this song, and I remember just like I felt like my heart was going to beat out of my chest because it was so big, you know. It
Yeah.
it, it it just like, and the lushness of the like synth arrangements, and her vocal delivery, and like I mean, like I said earlier in the episode, this was my first Kate Bush song.
Can you tell me a little bit about the synth? I mean, I don't know if you is this the same synth that you mentioned earlier? It's got like those melodic stabs that introduce a song. It kind of to me it sounds almost like a human voice a little bit.
Yeah, it's a Fairlight CMI. And so the Fairlight CMI was basically actually like a computer. It was like a desktop computer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so you would have to like manually like emulate like whatever it is that you wanted to create and actually generate like sound waves for what you were doing. So she got really like skilled at creating different types of sounds with the Fairlight, but she was one of the earliest users of the Fairlight, and like I mean this synth was worth like a crap ton of money when it first came out, and now they're very rare and hard to come by, but now there's some like virtual like synths that can replicate, you know, what you could do with a CMI. But both the kind of like atmospheric pad that you hear, you know, at the very beginning and then throughout the song where it's like boom,
Uh-huh.
and then the dun, dun, like that, like both of those things are the Fairlight.
Interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I like how it sounds. And it's interesting. I mean, it's fortuitous that she went with a sound like this. She couldn't have known that in the 2020s, that sound would be analogous to some other sounds that were in vogue, like, you know, vaporwave and that kind of retro synth wave sound that was taking over the aesthetics of the decade. And when it was
Mhm.
featured on Stranger Things, and that episode of Stranger Things, what also it has some added orchestration. Uh, it blew up. The song blew up, and suddenly Kate Bush was back in the spotlight after a long, long time away. I think that's really cool.
I think the song is both like very 80s and extremely ahead of its time.
I agree.
It's easily in my top 5 favorite Kate Bush songs
Yeah.
and probably top 10 favorite songs ever, like by anybody.
Yeah, it's very powerful, very dramatic. I keep saying the word dramatic, but that's the word to use with Kate Bush. I will say that my favorite media use of Running Up That Hill, of Ruth, my favorite media use of Ruth is not Stranger Things. I'm not a big Stranger Things fan, even though that scene where they used it was pretty cool. There is a film from 2016 called The People Garden. Very underrated film by a Canadian filmmaker named Nadia Litz, who used Running Up That Hill as the starting song. I went to the premiere at Bafisi Film Festival when it came out here in Buenos Aires. And I remember hearing that song at the start of the movie, and it just amps you up so good. It's got that mix of like power and atmosphere, and the film is pretty atmospheric, and it has to do with, you know, a lot of different things. It deals with a lot of different themes, but, you know, partly it's also about people struggling to understand each other. And so I think that the use of Running Up That Hill was really genius. Look up The People Garden. I think you can find it streaming somewhere, somehow, maybe on demand. Check it out. But yeah, this song has definitely clawed its way back into the spotlight, and I think it brought a whole lot of new fans into the Kate Bush fold.
I think another aspect, so you've been mentioning dramatic a lot, and you know, Kate loves high drama. Um, but I think another aspect of the drama in the song is once again the music video, where we see this sort of like metaphorical representation of this failure to connect or this struggle with intimacy, where it's an interpretive dance. She's at one point she's like reaching her hand through a crowd to get to her dance partner,
Yeah,
and just like this meaning laden, like emotionally intense sort of interpretation of what the song is about.
absolutely. I think the case is more than clear for why Running Up That Hill is a Kate Bush signature song contender.
Definitely. Let's move on.
Next up is Cloud Busting, written and produced once again by Kate Bush, released as the second single from Hounds of Love. This song peaked at number 20 in the UK and spent 8 weeks on the chart, but its real legacy goes beyond chart numbers. The song was inspired by Peter Reich's 1973 memoir, A Book of Dreams, and it tells the story of his bond with his father, the controversial psychiatrist and philosopher Wilhelm Reich. And this is a childhood that is remembered in the book through awe, devotion, and the devastating loss. It's told from Peter's perspective, looking back on life at their farm where they'd spend their days, quote unquote, cloud busting, using Reich's homemade machine in a strange attempt to make it rain before the story turns devastating, with some aspects that I will not spoil here. But it's one of Kate's most emotionally direct songs, and it's been praised by critics on how it captures the exact moment when a kid realizes that the adults in their life aren't invincible. And also, I will say this, maybe you can talk to me about this, when Kate Bush finally brought this song to the stage for the first time in 2014, she made it the closing encore of her Before the Dawn residency. Do you have, Lane, any memories of the time you saw this song live?
I do. It was really a beautiful experience. I thought it was the perfect song to close on. I think it's wistful and like beautiful, and everybody in the audience was singing the yeah yeah yo
Mm-hmm.
at the end,
Yeah.
and I mean it was just like magic, it was just stunning. And I actually have I'm looking at my mantle right now as we're recording, and I have my friend Kat copy of A Book of Dreams by Peter Reich
Nice.
on my mantle that I need to give back to her.
Wow, that's been, how long have you had it?
Like 4 years.
Okay. All right.
I'm a bad friend.
One thing I'll mention, you talked about the audience singing that final part. Kate Bush, I don't think people talk enough about how good she is at non-word vocalizations in
Yes.
music. One of our recurring jokes, I don't know if I would even call it it's like a recurring bit when we talk about Hounds of Love is ha ho ha ho.
From the morning fog.
From the morning fog. She's really good at crafting these little moments that are not words, just a bunch of syllables, but somehow feel perfect for whatever emotion she's trying to express at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's really special, and I think that's really hard, I think, to pull off as a vocalist, right? I think you have to be a very gifted vocalist, one who is earnest and somebody who can go many different places emotionally, but also have a lot of flexibility with your voice to
Yes.
be able to do something like that.
And also have a keen ear for, again, drama. I mean, speaking on that topic, it really shows her skill at conveying emotion on this particular track, because not just through the notes that she sings, but what she chooses to stretch out and emphasize. And I'm thinking specifically of the O's in just before I just know that something good is going to happen. It really feels like somebody clinging hard to hope. She goes, "Oh, I just know that," it's like there's that theatricality in there. She knows what the meaning of the word is, but more importantly, she knows what the emotion is and how to best convey it. And that's something that I really admire about certain singers, and certainly about Kate Bush. It's not just how, the notes you hit, but it's also the shape you give to those words and non-words too. I love this song. I think it's great. It's very melodic. It really does feel like a proper pop song, even though it's, built on this like string quartet loop. Famously, this song was also featured on another very popular TV show recently. There's this whole sequence on the show The Handmaid's Tale, of course, based on the famous novel, where they play this song like almost in its entirety. I mean, I don't know if it's in its entirety, but it's like it's a big chunk of the song, and it became iconic for fans of that show.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I think it's like season 3 or something, episode 11. They feature this song pretty prominently, and it's interesting to get the perspectives of people who are not part of the fandom but latch on to a song of the artist because it features in their fandom, right? Like it becomes meaningful to them in different ways. Cloud Busting just feels like an iconic Kate Bush track that's endured across many, many years.
Kate has approached music from like this Baroque progressive pop point of view her entire career. But she's done it in many different ways and from many different types of like narrative and emotional vantage points. But I feel like Cloud Busting is a very good synopsis of her artistry. Like I would probably send, Cloud Busting as one of the first songs to somebody who had never heard her music.
Yeah. It feels very authentic to who she is, both sonically, thematically, and performance-wise.
Definitely.
Okay, I think we can move on to our final contender.
Our final contender for Kate Bush's signature song is This Woman's Work. This song first appeared on the She's Having a Baby soundtrack in 1988 and was also part of her 1989 album, The Sensual World, where it was released as the second single. It was fairly successful in Europe. It was number 25 in the UK and number 20 in Ireland, and it was actually certified gold in the UK, meaning it sold over 400,000 units. It's also recharted multiple times in the United Kingdom over the years. Somehow made it to the number one like most downloaded alternative songs in the United States in 2023. That I don't know anything about.
Interesting.
I don't know why that happened. Do you?
No, I don't. That's very interesting. I wonder why.
I do not know why that happened. It was written for the climactic scene in She's Having a Baby, where the male protagonist is kind of freaking out about the woman in his life having a child. And it remains one of her most beloved songs. It is very emotionally intense. It's beautiful. It has this lovely orchestral arrangement. It's been re-recorded as part of her director's cut, which was a redo of both The Sensual World and The Red Shoes that she released in 2011. And she had a music video for it that was also kind of a callback to the film. And it was also very famously covered by Maxwell.
Yes.
And he actually turned it into a fairly successful hit too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, it became one of his signature songs for sure.
What do you think of this song, Jorge?
Well, I will ask you first, if that's okay. Have you watched She's Having a Baby?
No.
Okay. So I will correct one thing that you said. The song is used during a pivotal part of the movie. Yes, it is a climactic scene, but he's not freaking out about his wife having a baby. She's like in labor, and both she and her child are in danger. Like there's a complication, and he's sitting there worried that they're about to die. And so he's running all these memories through his brain of their time together, and wondering what his life is going to be like if she's gone, and all the dreams that he pinned on her and their life together. The film is kind of a silly comedy in many ways, but it's also about growing up, and it's also about, facing harsh truths. And I think that scene is just gorgeous. And she wrote this song specifically for that scene and for that film. Originally, the temp music that they used was this Mortal Coil's cover of "Song to the Siren" by Tim Buckley, but
Whoa.
Tim Buckley's estate refused to license it, and so John Hughes ended up turning to Kate Bush and asked her to write this song for this film, for that scene specifically. And I will say this: I don't want to get too personal, but as somebody who very recently has had to spend time in hospitals waiting for potentially devastating news, I feel this song so much. I feel the lyrics, all the things we could have said and we never said, all the things we could have done and we never did, all these like regrets and longing and memory and all the anxiety of waiting for it, and how it hits you like a tidal wave all at once, and you're kind of struggling to stay afloat through that. I've felt that in the last month. And so this song hits me really hard. I have always liked it. I used to listen to it when I was cramming for school during like finals week or something, and I used to the words, I know you have a little life in you yet. I used to find reassuring at the time as a teenager studying, but now I have this whole other appreciation for it that I didn't have before. And we were supposed to record this late last year. We've had some ups and downs personally, you and I, and we've had to put off podcast recordings. So that's why this episode is so late. I am almost grateful. I mean, I'm not grateful for the bad things that have happened, to a loved one in my life recently, but I have a new perspective on this song. And I have a new insight into how it was written and why she went about writing it the way she did, and the role that the melody takes in shaping that emotion, and the role that the instrumentation takes in shaping that emotion. I just think it's pitch perfect. Is it her best song? No, it's not. Is it a little cheesy? It is for sure a little cheesy. As you know me, I'm okay with cheese. Cheese is fine by me, but there are so many nuances to the song and to the emotional space it creates that I was kind of oblivious to until somewhat recently. So I give this song a 10 out of 10. This is my favorite song in this list.
Wow.
Yeah, I love this song. I don't know if you could say that it's her signature song. It's a very popular song of hers. Maybe signature song is a little much. I don't think people think Kate Bush and immediately think of this woman's work, but I think it's a very significant song for her. And I don't know where I stand right now. Like, that I think that subjectivity is all we have. So from within my subjectivity right now, I think this is one of her best songs. And, a song that I would give to anybody if they wanted to see, to hear the emotional breadth of Kate Bush's work.
I think that's really interesting. I don't think this is my favorite song of the ones that we're talking about today. I think that might be Running Up That Hill. But I think The Sensual World is probably now my favorite Kate Bush album, now that I'm in my 30s and I've kind of matured a little bit and, you know, developed as a person, and I kind of understand like where she's coming from, right? And some of what she's been writing about in a more full and I guess more realized way. I think that those songs really reach me more than the songs that I just thought were really like intellectually interesting, like Hounds of Love or The Dreaming, and or albums rather. And I but what's also interesting is that Kate Bush's 1990 compilation of all of her albums prior, in addition to some B-sides and other rarities, was called This Woman's Work.
Interesting. Well, it's a good title for that for a collection of her
It
work.
is. It is, but she didn't have to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
Like I have to imagine this song holds special significance for her too.
I think so. And the fact that it can work across different generations and different artists and continue to resonate with people, I think it's testament to how good a song it is. It's just a really well produced song and very well written song and very well performed song. So big fan of this one, This Woman's Work.
Nice. Shall we talk about some of the songs that didn't make the cut?
Yes, honorable mentions, potential contenders that didn't end up in our final list. I got a couple. Should I go first?
Yeah, you can go first. I've got a couple too.
I got The Man with a Child in His Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a very significant song of hers that didn't quite make it. The title track, The Hounds of Love, I think is a very great song. That was probably my first favorite Kate Bush song. I really love it, and the whole "it's in the trees, it's coming," that seems very memeable too. I don't know if this counts, but "Don't Give Up," her duet with Peter Gabriel, I think was also a very famous song that maybe a lot of people would think to as when they think of Kate Bush, but also it's more of a Peter Gabriel song, right? Like she sings the hook, so to speak. And then finally, the song "Wow." Not just yeah, that's a big one, and it's not just because the delivery of "unbelievable" is it's great, it's iconic. I love how she sings it, but also because it might have given me the chance to talk about how the intro to "Wow" was probably, like, I have a theory that the intro was probably a very, very strong influence on the creation of one of my favorite pieces of video game music ever, which is the underwater theme "Aquatic Ambiance" from Donkey Kong Country. And if you listen to the intro of "Wow," the swelling synths and the guitar, the way the guitar kind of comes in, it just feels like it's built on the foundation of "Wow." Those are my honorable mentions. How about yours?
So you touched on some of mine. I also think so. These are some, like, I don't want to say lesser singles because I think they're great songs, but I don't think anybody would name them necessarily as signature songs. But I think they are notable and successful. So one would be "Sat in Your Lap" from 1982's The Dreaming.
Yeah.
I think that was a very significant single for her, and it really demonstrated a shift in her sound, in her approach to lyric writing. That album as a whole is very dark compared to a lot of her other music.
Yeah, very abstract.
Yeah. But I think that song really demonstrates what she's good at in a very off-kilter sort of way. Another single that had a lot of success, but I don't think was necessarily like as enduring, is "Rubber Band Girl" from the Red Shoes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see that.
yeah,
That's a
which
good pick
I love that song. I love the Red Shoes. I think it's completely underrated.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can now reveal finally our individual picks for Kate Bush's signature song. Maybe we agree, maybe we don't. I can't remember who went first last time, but would you like to go first?
Sure, I'm happy to go first. Thank you. I think my pick, if it were 5 years ago, would have been a little bit different. I think that, especially my experiences stepping off the plane in London, encountering this guy who was so annoyed by Wuthering Heights, and having him, have that be his soul impression of who Kate Bush was, I think that would have been my pick for her signature song if you had asked me at any point prior to Stranger Things. But I think as a result of that, and also just, I'm biased, but I have a very special love for Hounds of Love and Running Up That Hill in particular. I think that it's made such a significant cultural impact, both at the time that it was released and now, especially in contemporary times, and having the benefit of the internet and memes and a very popular television show, all kind of combining. I think it's fairly easy for me to say that Kate's signature song is Running Up That Hill.
This is one of those instances where we agree.
All
It's
right.
Ruth. It is Ruth. Although, unlike you, I would probably still picked it even if Stranger Things hadn't happened. I think it was already kind of a towering song in her overall oeuvre, but Stranger Things just gave it that extra little kick, And I think right now that is the song that defines her for sure. So we agree again. It's been a while. Wait, no, it hadn't. We agreed on Master of Puppets,
yeah,
too.
we definitely did, yeah.
Which was also boosted by Stranger Things. Interesting. Maybe that'll be the Stranger Things rule. All right, well, there you have it. Our pick is Running Up That Hill. What is your pick, dear listener? What do you think Kate Bush's signature song is? Do you think it's Wuthering Heights? Do you think it's This Woman's Work? Do you think it's another one we didn't cover? Do you think it's Don't Give Up? I think you're wrong if you pick that one because it's not really her song. But anyway, let us know. Leave a comment here on the episode or on our social media. You can follow us at Signature Song Pod everywhere. In 2 weeks, Lane, we're going to be talking about another very important artist. Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Stevie Wonder, who is fantastic and has an enormous discography of incredible songs, and I'm sure it will be very easy to narrow it down.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation, and I'm looking forward to it because although I am familiar with a lot of his work, I am not actually the most knowledgeable on Stevie Wonder's discography, so it's going to be interesting to dive in and learn a lot about his work. So we're going to be talking about that in a couple weeks. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Lane, for chatting with me. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jorge, and thank you, everyone. Take care.